And we are back. We are live. We have a full complement of hosts this evening. Hello, Jamie, Austin. How are you guys doing this evening?
Howdy. Doing well.
I'm a little disgruntled because Price is Right rules always win, but it's fine.
I have video proof that we've agreed to this months and months and months ago.
Rules win.
Nope. It was the closest to. I am your champion. For those of you who missed last week. For those of you who missed it last week, I am the pay-per-view pick champion. Final decision. Yes. But Jamie, I do want to say welcome back to Jamie. Jamie was on vacation last week. He was doing a lot of volleyballing up in Colorado. And I before we get going here,
volleyball, softball.
It was a completely different sport. I don't know. We even know where volleyball. Okay.
Maybe it's just weird about that though.
Maybe my brain is acting like threads here. I'm just randomly picking things and putting them in front of your face, you know?
So Colorado was great, man. But I have to give this one weird thing, and this I know will 100% date me, and I don't care. But when we started our bracket play on Friday, because we were playing throughout the week, we played on the high school fields at Columbine High School.
Ooh, that was weird,
right? Like, I just graduated high school. You were still.
I was a senior. I was actually at Mizzou because they had the Missouri State Journalism Awards that day, and my mom freaked out because it was just showing Jefferson C High School. You know, my mom's like freaking out because we're Jefferson City, it's Jefferson County, right, on the news, and we had no idea what was going on because social media didn't exist back then, right?
Yeah, it was weird. Like, and so while we're there too, I'm just gonna go crazy with this, so just go with me here. But the entire outfield for both teams sucked that game. Like, it was the worst outfield play I've ever seen. So we've all agreed that the outfield was haunted.
The ghost of wow. Oof. Ugh.
Yeah.
Austin, get off this topic. How you?
Yeah. So I actually have my own baseball in Colorado story. Not quite softball, but I wish it would have been.
The Diamond.
So when me and Miss Howitzer first moved to Colorado and got hooked up with the guys at Rocky Mountain Pro, a few of the guys there were like, hey, we play in this rec baseball league. Do y'all want to come play? We need a few more for the team. And I'm thinking it's like beer league, like,
right.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a good time. We just moved here. We don't know anybody. Like, yeah, this sounds good. So it turns out it's like some summer league where it's all like junior college players that are home for the summer, throwing like 85 miles right down the pipe. I haven't swung a bat since Little League. I went 0 for the entire like 6 games we played. We also didn't have a full team. We had like 6 guys for most games. So we had 1 outfielder. And it was like, oh, if they hit anywhere else, they're just all going to score. But Heidi actually did get a single hit because she would talk. If you've ever seen her wrestle, her playing baseball was the exact same thing, just talking shit to the pitcher the whole time.
Perfect.
She said something that made the guy kind of laugh as he was pitching, and she like flinched, and the ball hits the bat and stays in the infield. But everyone is so surprised that she actually hit the ball that no one can actually field it.
They're like, wait, what?
So she went 1-4 the entire season. I went 0-4, and we lost every game.
You know, usually you got to pay double for that kind of action, Cotton.
I will say this, though. So, Jamie, I didn't tell you this yet, but Austin and I were talking after the show last week. It went very well.
It did. I listened.
And, you know, the truth of the matter is we desperately miss you for the finale because I didn't even think about the close of the show until we got to the DX thing. I was like, oh shit, we got to do the thing. And I was looking at Austin. I'm like, you want to do this? And he goes, fuck no.
You didn't do no help with that.
You didn't do anything like, you know, like, where are the white women at? You know, or anything like that.
Oh, it was better than when we had our buddy Mike guest star. What's up, Mike? You know, it's better than that.
I'll whip this out.
But we are back at full force. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We do appreciate you guys giving us some of your time. As it was not, well, the ending was rough. It was okay, Heather. It was okay. It was pretty bad.
Heather gets me. See, Heather and I are on the same team. Whatever you guys do, whatever.
You guys cut from own cloth. That's okay. I'm from the team that is a champion of pay-per-view picks. So thank you for listening.
Allegedly. Price is Right rules, man. Always.
I side with Jamie in this one. Price is Right rules.
We have never done Price is Right rules. We have never done that. You know this.
I've said it from the jump. It's always that, and you're always against it because it always doesn't help you.
Potato. We agreed to this over a year and a half ago, Jamie. I have video proof. I saved a clip of that episode on my computer for this very reason. Because the second you lose anything, it's like, nope, that's not right, you know.
Because I don't lose.
You did lose. I win. I is the champion. Let's talk about wrestling.
Even when I'm losing, I'm winning.
All right. Well, whatever. I am the champion. And we know that. We also get to put the championship belt up in 2 consecutive weeks coming up here. So, Jamie, since you weren't here for that, your thoughts on me being right about All Out?
I mean, I was right too.
You said it wasn't going to happen. You were very adamant about that.
Yo, they announced All Out. What did I miss?
So All In
under a rock, literally.
Right. You know, no, but all 1 week after All In, they're doing All Out in Chicago.
Bull. That's dumb.
You were thinking of Did you miss that?
I 100% did.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, All Out Chicago weekend. As soon as they get back from London, they're going straight to Chicago.
That's dumb.
I'd like to point out that in the chat, Heather thinks I might have won on a technicality.
Well, you would have been the next in line if that's the point. If that was the point, you would have been the next in line.
I'm just saying, if Dragon doesn't get hurt, that match gets another 8 minutes, and my 34 is right on track.
So
actually, you might be right there.
So what if everybody goes over then? Then what do you do? Nobody wins.
Then it goes back to the default owner, which is Megan, which I know burns and chaps.
No, it does not go back to the default owner. That's why we didn't do Price is Right rules, because it's like there has to be a definitive winner or loser every single time. And if the case happens that it goes over everything, this is my argument from the start. If everybody goes over, then what happens? Well, it goes back. It was like, no, we need to have a definitive winner every time, right? Because we had a pay-per-view where we had to take like 3 tiebreakers the following 2 weeks in order for us to actually like determine who it was. But like, never again, we're not doing Price is Right rules because of this.
Dude, it's simple. Price is Right rules make so much sense. Quit Price is Wrong on me, Bobby. Quit Price is Wrong on me, Bobby. All right?
No.
So it's simple, because you can have that advantage of 1 minute. You have the choice. 1 minute. Like $1.
We'll talk about this offline. We're not going to change the way we've done things, though, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I am the champion.
By the way.
I know you are on fire. It's like, come on, man. It's like, I actually want it for once. You can't just give me like a modicum of happiness in my life. No.
No. That's my job. My job is to make sure that you don't enjoy this at all because you didn't win it.
I'm muting Jamie right now. Let's talk about some wrestling. How about that? Okay.
I would love to talk some wrestling. So the very first thing I want to talk about before we get into AEW Dynamite, because I have lots to say, of course.
Shocker.
Did you all see Blue Cane? Has anybody see this whole Blue Cane thing?
Yes.
I love every second of this.
Absolutely. I'm here for Blue Cane.
Why hasn't this came out sooner? Why has this been in my life for the past 10 years?
That's a great question. I mean,
I'm pretty sure Blue Cane will not have a shelf life of 10 years. It's going to be hilarious for about 3 weeks, and then we'll have all seen it, and that'll be it for Blue Cane. But it did pop me pretty good.
Dude, I saw it for the first time, like we were bowling or something, and I look at my phone and I see this guy dressed up as Kane in blue. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And he needs to tag with Blue Meanie and be part of the BWO, and it'd be the greatest thing ever. And they could take that on the road for at least a good 3 years, and people will just dig it for 3 years, and it'd be great.
I mean, he does the whole hands thing down with snow coming out. It's like, it's so simple. You're right. Why did it take 2023 for this to happen?
That is like the best part of indie wrestling, is every once in a while you get something so ridiculous that it could not exist on TV somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But it still exists.
Like, who's the cat who does the Michael Jackson gimmick?
Oh, Santana Jackson.
Santana Jackson. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's a good brother. We ran into him a few times at a Versus Pro out in Vegas. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen him wrestle once, you've seen what you need to see. You've seen him wrestle.
Right.
He's got his handful of spots, but it's great. It's super entertaining, and it's a fun little thing to see on the show.
I mean, moonwalking. Come on now.
He has a whole Thriller dance spot. Is my favorite one that he does.
Yeah,
that
was
was
like
great.
roll under the ring and put on like a wolf mask, and they'll start playing Thriller, and the pops come back. It's phenomenal.
I saw him do a match against Effie and GCW, where he did that, and Effie joined in, and they did it together the whole time. It was
It's amazing.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
Before you get into that, I want real quick here, because it's very recent to happen. We talked about this last week. We got I don't want to call it pseudo dream match, but in a way it was a dream match. Willow Nightingale versus Julia. But New Japan had their Independence Day thing, which they used an old New York Rangers logo for, had on the 4th of July. It was kind of weird. But whatever. So 2 big takeaways from the show. lots of great wrestling. First of all, John Moxley getting skewered like a piece of shrimp was fantastic. But two big takeaways was, first of all, the Julia versus Willow Nightingale match, which I was only able to catch pieces of, but from all accounts, it was amazing. And we have a New Japan Strong Women's Champion,
Julia.
Now, you messaged me, you tweeted at me earlier today. I say tweeted at me. You direct messaged me on our company, messaging app earlier, talking about Julia's coming to America. Is this what you're getting at? Because she's got the New Japan Strong title?
Yes, she's coming to America. That is correct.
I think she might go to England first.
You think so?
I mean, they've been putting the marketing out there with the kind of, the press conference post pay-per-view, and the Twitter roar. And I'm sorry, especially if Jamie Hayter's injured still by then. Toni Storm versus Julia, winner take all in London in front of 80,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
They absolutely should do that.
They should, but I don't think that'd be the play.
Right.
Because here's the thing. I know it's already sold 70,000 seats or whatever it is. Like, it's setting amazing attendance records all the time, which is, kudos to them. But they've already sold the tickets. They don't need the extra pop from Julia. It's going to be somebody internal if she's not back. So Britt and Tony.
Okay.
I don't want that.
I would argue it the other way. The tickets are sold, but there's probably not a women's match with the people you have available unless Mercedes Moné is healed and can be there. That's going to sell any more tickets. But you've already got the tickets sold. You're running this huge stadium. You're going to have as many eyes as you've ever had on your product. Why not put out the best possible show you can and do the Tony versus Julia if you have that available to you?
And besides tickets, you have part two of that equation, your buys.
Yeah,
gotta get those pay-per-view buys too, right?
I mean, I'm gonna buy it regardless.
Well,
and that's
of course
the thing.
you are.
WWE can mail in stuff on premium live events because you're not paying any extra money for that.
Right.
I will, if I'm home when it's on, I'll throw it on because I already paid for Peacock anyway and it's there. Whereas AEW still sells pay-per-views. So they might be at 70,000 tickets, but who knows how many pay-per-views have been ordered. Probably not a ton since we're still 8 weeks out or whatever.
I don't think it's even available yet. They haven't even noticed.
Yeah. But yeah, you can, I think if you put that number on, I think you will probably boost pay-per-views if you put Julia and Tony on the show over Britt Baker versus anybody. But I'll wait to discuss Britt until we get to Dynamite later.
Oh,
I got thoughts.
I do too.
And then, of course, talk about the other thing, Jamie.
Yeah. So honestly, I mean, Julia winning, I knew would pop you, but what popped me, and looks like what popped Twitter as well, Eddie Kingston winning the Never Openweight Championship.
I shed a tear watching him do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Talk about a guy who deserves it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
you're like, yeah.
No, definitely. It's awesome to see somebody win a title that you can tell actually means something to them.
Right.
It adds just that little bit extra to it that you don't see a lot in pro wrestling. Like most wrestlers outside, like you win your first world title or something, that's usually a pretty emotional moment, but like no one's like shedding a tear over winning the TNT title. Like it's just it's a prop on the show. But to once again fantasy book all in off of what happened today, they got to be going to Kingston and Mox for that title, right?
Oh, 100%.
And like even better, make it a death match.
Yes. Yes. How about an exploding death match that actually explodes?
An exploding barbed wire death match for real, for real.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
Who knows?
that would be that again would sell some extra pay-per-views.
I mean, we're buying it no matter what. We know that. But yeah, you're 100% right. Watching, I will say, watching, especially the way he pinned him with like tears in his eyes and stuff. Because you know when you're winning the title, and then you actually go out there and gotta do the thing, right? So he knows ahead of time what it's gonna be. He's got planned out. They have it mapped out. Him and Kenta had a really good match planned out. But still, to actually have it happen, the realization, it's just like there's no work on that. Everything may be a work, but there was no work on that.
And to pin Kenta clean for it. Granted, Kenta's getting a little slow these days, but still, like, that makes it that much more special to beat someone like Kenta and to beat him clean. Like, that's dope.
That's still a big name. Still a big name to put on your resume absolutely. For sure.
I think honestly, you hit the nail right on the head. He beat him clean. Like that is huge. I mean, as a New Japan wrestling fan, as a Japanese style wrestling fan, if you win against somebody that big clean, that is a big deal. And especially like the aftermath afterwards, like how happy Eddie was and everything like that. It was an emotional moment in wrestling, and dude deserves his flowers because like Twitter's was erupted as soon as he won. I've never seen somebody like go that fast, like trending wise in wrestling, not for a botch. You know what I mean? Because everybody knows what I mean. Like, oh, did you see that?
My hole.
Yeah, my hole. Yeah, my hole. Oh my goodness.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, you want to get the Dynamite, or you want to get a little knowledge, Jamie?
I would love a little knowledge if somebody has maybe a stash of it.
I do happen to have a stash of knowledge, and I am happy to open it up for everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna hop right back on the train I was on pre-show before we got started. And I'm gonna
that Price is Right rules are always in effect. Yes. Okay, let's talk more about that.
I am going to tell everybody why they need to go back when they have time and watch the back half of 1996 in the WWF. It's a mad underrated year. The first half of the year is not great. It's a continuation of 94, 95 new generation stuff. But the back half is basically like the prologue to the Attitude Era. You get The Rock debuting, you get Ron Simmons showing up as Farouk in a funny blue gladiator outfit for like 3 weeks until they turn him into Nation Domination, which is great because if you go back and watch the show, and like there's a lot of like goofy things that happen that you kind of know about from watching pro wrestling. When you go back and watch them in the context, they're so much more funny. Like Ron Simmons, he comes out in the gladiator promo, and they are in the gladiator outfit, and they have him cut a promo. And the promo is exactly what Nation of Domination Farouk would be saying, but he's just dressed like a silly blue gladiator for some reason.
Right.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. The highlight of the back half of 96 though is Survivor Series 96. Bret Hart and Steve Austin. The I Quit match at WrestleMania is universally regarded, and it should be. It was a more important night. But if you want to watch just two phenomenal wrestlers go have a 20-minute just phenomenal wrestling match, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold at Survivor Series 96 is well worth your time.
That's the sharpshooter with blood coming out of his face moment.
That's WrestleMania, is the sharpshooter with blood coming out of the face. The Survivor Series 96 is when Stone Cold locks in the $1 Million Dream and Bret runs up the ropes and rolls him up.
Yeah,
which is just phenomenal finish. And then just the whole build to it, because Bret leaves after losing to Shawn at WrestleMania, and it's like 4 straight months of Stone Cold Steve Austin calling Bret Hart and calling him a coward before Bret finally shows up to answer his challenge for Survivor Series. There's so a lot of just like the kind of goofy stuff you remember from the 90s, but they tell some really good stories as well at the time. The only downside, though, is you get Jerry Lawler on commentary, which I'd be happy to hear if y'all disagree, but I genuinely believe he's the worst commentator of all time.
Puppies.
The absolute worst. He is almost unlistenable to now. And it's one of those things where, because he was there for so many big moments, you just associate him with the history, and you're like, oh yeah, that's Lawler and JR. They're the classic team. JR has important calls you remember. By God, he's broken in half, and that man has a family. Jerry Lawler has no memorable commentary because you try and bleach your ears of it as soon as he speaks. Right. It is terrible. And also, really quick, going back to the back half of 96, probably one of the worst storylines they ever did is Jerry Lawler and Jake Roberts, where Jerry Lawler is just harassing him about being a recovered alcoholic for like 3 straight months, just pulling booze out in front of him and stuff. They do finally have a pay-per-view match that Jake Roberts wins in like 30 seconds.
Right.
And then like the next week, Jerry Lawler's just like antagonize him with booze again for no reason. It's there's a little bit of bad, but yeah, criminally underrated. If you have the time, go watch from like just past King of the Ring through the end of the year in 96. It's very underrated.
So you said a hot take that I really, really want to get into of Jerry Lawler being the worst announcer of all time. And I politely disagree, sir.
Oh.
He's bad, but he's not the worst.
Who are you throwing out there as the worst?
Larry fucking Zbyszko. Oh, look at him. I've offended you.
No, you haven't offended me. Zbyszko was not good. I will say bad. Zbyszko was at least usually part of a 3-man team.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of the vet voice to just like, he was just there. He didn't have to do as much heavy lifting. Jerry Lawler basically detracted from JR for their entire run.
I mean, Heather
today too.
Heather talks about it a lot. The shill screaming, just like the not even overt, the just straight in your face, sexist, just dog that he was. It's just, I have to agree with Austin on this. I'm trying to think of one. Zbyszko, I wouldn't put up. I don't think Zbyszko was nearly as bad.
Mike Tenay too. I hated Mike Tenay.
You hate Mike Tenay?
Yep.
Why am what am I even doing here? Good God. What is it?
I wasn't even a big fan of the WCW announce team. Like, I thought WWF or WWE had the better announce team. Like when Vince was in there. I
actually really liked Vince on commentary, as much as I hate to even say that.
I know. That's why he's a gorilla position. Is like, hey, say this. Say something about puppies. Everybody likes puppies.
Today was, I associate today more with TNA than I do his old work in WCW,
That's fair.
He was the voice of TNA.
The problem with the WCW commentary teams in general is that they were just not nearly as directed to keep a story going. And they were a lot of times out there just calling stuff like you would hear a baseball game on the radio. Like, they're just kind of calling what they're seeing. Now, granted, you get towards the end of WCW and nobody knows what's going on. There's
including the talent and the audience. And
but yeah, I did always prefer WWF's commentary better because it was more focused around your play-by-play guy, keeping you involved in a story, and the color guy just adding a bit here and there.
Yeah. Well, you guys give us your take. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the back half of 96. Heather makes mention that was, she said, Undertaker descended from the rafters like a bat that year. Was that 96?
He absolutely did. So at Buried Alive,
I thought that was later. Okay.
No, so at Buried Alive in October, he beats Mankind, but then they all come out, all the heels come out and beat him up and bury him, and he disappears for about a month. And then he returns at Survivor Series draping down from the rafters, and that's where he got rid of the purple gimmicks and went to like the black pants with the leather top, and he started sporting the little "I killed somebody" teardrop under his eye.
Yeah, that was before the Ministry.
That was the Demon before. Was the Ministry before American Badass?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ministry was way before American.
So that was Demon 1, Ministry, American Badass. And then he went back to like Demon 2.
Yeah, so he's Demon 1 for like a year, and then he wrestled Shawn Michaels at Royal Rumble 98 in the casket match. And they come out, lock him in the casket, set on fire, and then he comes back for WrestleMania, and he's changed up a little bit again to wrestle Kane.
The brothers of destruction.
I think that a lot of it too, and we're gonna get to Dynamite here in just a second, guys. You know, this is a great stash we gotta get to. I think a lot of it too, though, because when you look back and think about this, and I remember, I never really thought about this too much until I was watching. I was watching one of like the live streams right after it was either Adam Cole or Claudio Castagnoli after Tyler Breeze got fired, from WWE, or Best Luck on Your Future Endeavor from WWE, and he's like, "I'll be fine, don't worry about me." He's like, he talks about one of the things you don't realize: Steve Austin was Stone Cold Steve Austin for how long? And they've been trying to figure it out. And he goes, 6 years. I think a lot of that time period, we look back on it, and it felt like it was like a decade, right? The Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars. It was like 3.5 years. I mean, it was a lot in a little amount of time. So I think a lot of the years kind of run together, and that's why Austin brought it up, and I go 96. That's the year they were really down low. And he's like, no. So
he starts picking back up. Yeah, and like Stone Cold's run was 6 years, but even that, he's gone for a good chunk with the broken neck. Then he has the surgery after Rikishi runs him over. He's gone for the better part of a year. Then he walks out for the better part of the year. So he really only had about like 3 to 4 full good years. And that's it.
It's really amazing when you think about it.
One really quick note, I thought about this thinking about Buried Alive and all the heels running out and beat up the Undertaker, then Royal Rumble, them all lock him in the casket. I miss all the heels just running out to kick someone's ass because they're all bad guys and they just don't. You don't get enough of that. And you used to get with the baby faces too. And it annoys me more that you don't see it. Like baby faces in wrestling now, AEW is better about this. But like in WWE, baby faces haven't had friends like outside of the New Day in forever. Mm-hmm. You'll see one baby face getting his ass kicked, and it used to be half the roster would clear out because they like that guy because he's a good dude, as a baby face should be. And you never see that anymore. It used to be such a nice touch. Like you thought these people, at least the good guys, actually liked each other.
So, fun fact. Okay, you guys took me down this rabbit hole of 1996. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening internationally, you might not understand this, but yesterday was the birthday of the United States of America. It was also when we, as the entire world, stood up against the tyranny of aliens trying to invade us. And that happened in 1996.
I was in Denver that summer, and I had a chance to go see it on the IMAX theater. In 96, there weren't many IMAXs out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
one in Kansas City.
Back then, there was even... So, Denver, Colorado, family vacation. I wanted to go see Independence Day on the 4-story IMAX theater. My parents said, no, we're too tired. And I will never let that go.
Well, you missed
Sorry,
it. You missed Welcome to Earth, bitch.
I've seen it. It just
since you had to mention Independence Day. On Independence Day last night, Miss Howitzer and I decide, you know what? We never watched the second one. Let's give that a shot.
Don't do that to yourself.
And I, for the rest of my life, will believe we only fended the aliens off once, and it was in 1996, and they never came back. Because holy shit, was that movie bad.
It was the turd burger, man. It was so bad.
It was so bad.
I couldn't even believe like when they said they were making another one. I go, what?
It's all in. Like, let me see people fighting off aliens. The bar for an alien invasion movie for me is below the floor, yet somehow they tripped over it.
It's like a zombie movie bar. It's like a zombie movie bar is, especially for me, is stupid low, right? Are there zombies and people killing them? Okay, I'm gonna watch it, right?
You would think that's all you need. Not the case here. It was just bad. And like, we enjoy bad movies a lot of the time. This was just not good at all.
Yeah, I would say the second Independence Day is uncomfortable. You know, like the back of Volkswagen.
Let's move on to Dynamite. Wonderful stash of knowledge this week here, Austin. Thank you for that. But we do have a we do have a show to talk about. And I know that there's several hot takes that both these gentlemen want to get to, and you know I might have one or two as well.
But to put a bow on earlier, the Sportster happens to have a list of the top 15 worst wrestling announcers ever. By the way.
Okay, well,
looks like Dynamite's gonna have to wait.
Yeah, Lawler was 15.
Top?
Lawler's 15. Booker T was 14. Art Donovan was 13. Lita was 12. I don't know where they got this list. TNA Mike today. There you go.
Come on.
Mike Adamley, he was pretty terrible. He's Mr. American Gladiator. JBL, Dusty Rhodes, American Dream, baby. Tony Schiavone, I disagree. Craig DeGeorge, Jack Reynolds, Steve Mongo McMichael, and Pepe the Dog. I feel like that's kind of shitty to put him on that list right now because he's not.
Mongo was great.
But he's funny.
He was
Rob Bartlett. I barely remember Rob Bartlett.
I don't even remember him at all.
Michael Cole,
like 93 Raw.
Yeah, Michael Cole's number 2, which he just gets under my skin because
he's annoying. He's actually good at his job.
Man.
I mean,
yeah, Michael Cole, for that brief window when Vince left, became fine again. And early Michael Cole was good too. The problems with Michael Cole are coming through the headset. They're not Michael Cole problems.
Yeah. Say boss time. Say Big Dog is here. You know,
the dude's like a lot of people in WWE, and I can't fault them. They get asked to do something pretty basic and easy, and they make a nice check for it. And like, why do something?
I don't like Michael Cole. He's annoying, but he's not bad.
To say whatever Vince yelled in my ear, I'd be in that chair every week. Why not?
So who's number 1 on this list? Apparently, Jamie.
It was another WCW announcer, Mr. Mark Madden. Totally forgot. But he
I don't agree with
wasn't
this
that
list
great.
at all.
I think this is a terrible list.
You pulled up a list to try and justify yourself, and it's like, that's a bad
list.
Got worse.
The list has no like requirements to make the list. You literally just had to have done commentary at any point. Art Donovan did like 2 shows.
That's true.
In the early to mid 90s. I want to say he did like a pay-per-view and like a Monday Night Raw, and that was it. Like, that doesn't count. Mike Adamley had a very short run as a commentator. I would only consider people that had like a multi-year run somewhere. The JBL one is interesting though, because
I actually really like JBL as a commentator.
His early SmackDown commentary was very good. When he came back to do commentary again, it was completely lazy and mailed in. I can't remember who it was. They called someone up from NXT, and he was trying to do the heel commentary. Like, I don't even know who that is. Dude, you were the commissioner of NXT or the general manager at the time while they were like, it's just laziness.
Yeah, that's pretty lazy.
But yeah, early JBL was great.
For sure. All right. So do we want to finally get over to AEW?
Let's talk about some Dynamite here. 40 minutes in.
Yes. All right. So Dynamite happened tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And it had ups and downs. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But that first match, though.
I wasn't expecting that. We know that they usually kick off with a banger, right? But I wasn't expecting to like that first match as much as I did.
That first match was amazing, in my opinion. I mean, the fact that we got to see Darby Allin used as a lawn dart and literally went across the entire ring, and then he got pinned underneath the stairs as Keith Lee's walking up with Orange Cassidy on his back trying to give a sleeper hold. Like, I can die and go to heaven right now.
You just like to see bodily harm inflicted upon Darby Allin is what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's only one thing that could have made that match better. That's it.
Jeff Jarrett?
No, a lion tamer.
Obviously, it's a lion tamer.
The answer is always a lion tamer, Austin. I'm happy we got to see old school Keith Lee, like NXT and before Keith Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I was the first time putting Dynamite on, so I missed this match. But I'm gonna go back and watch it because I did hear it was phenomenal.
Go back and watch it. Is Keith Lee like back from like the late Indies and early NXT run Keith Lee? I mean,
it's Swerve doing Swerve things because Swerve is a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah,
and like he did like a whisper in the wind / roundhouse like thing. It was amazing off of the back of Keith Lee onto I think Orange Cassidy. It was sick. But amazingly, shockingly, everybody, I know everybody's amazed by this, but Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy get the win. Oh no, it's another Wednesday and Orange Cassidy gets yet another win.
I want to go back to what Austin said a couple weeks ago about the whole blind eliminator thing. You know, it's like, because I think even when they're putting this stuff together here, the whole point of this tournament was supposed to be anything can happen, surprises all over the place, right? Well, they're announcing everybody ahead of time, which I know you don't like, and they're telegraphing the entire thing even more than they would if they announced it live, right? If they do it like you said in like a one night thing, Austin, or a pay-per-view with this is like the meat of the matter, right? At least be some intrigue to it. But you look at this and you're like, there's no way Keith Lee and Swerve are winning, right?
Yeah,
that's the only thing I do like about this match.
They're former tag team champions.
Yeah, they have this thing that could be really good. And they did none of the work it would have took to make it really good. And like Lethal Lottery is up there on my list of all-time favorite gimmicks in pro wrestling. This is not that. The only weird pairing you got, which we can get to a little bit later in Dynamite, was the Butcher and Daddy Magic, which like I'm all here for weird teams like that. Throw random people together. But you're gonna tell me you drew all these names randomly and MJF and Adam Cole were on a team, Swerve and Keith Lee were on a team. Darby and Orange Cassidy, I could like that would make more sense if there weren't all these other pairings that would obviously be together.
You got Matt Hardy and Jeff Jarrett that were announced during the show. It's
just two 30-year vets happen to get put together. You couldn't have put Jeff Jarrett with like an Orange Cassidy or like there's so many young baby faces on your roster you could put Jeff with, and the match itself would be entertaining as shit just because of the dynamic between them.
Yeah, but heel face. It's always more fun when it's heel face like that, and like obscure heel face, not Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee who have history. You want the weird, man. Like you want to embrace like freaking one of the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson with Serpentico. You know, like this is getting nuts.
Yeah, like there's so many things you could. And the other problem too is this is clearly leading to MJF and Adam Cole. And I think what they're probably going to end up doing is having the finals of this. Well, we're still a little ways out, so probably not. I was thinking they'd probably have the finals of this at All In and then have Cole and MJF at All Out, but they're probably a little too early for that to happen. But like clearly this is put together to have Cole and MJF win it and then tear up against FTR and then fight each other for the title. So why are we doing all this? Now, granted, they could lose earlier, but again, the whole point of this tournament is the winning team gets a shot at the tag titles. But you haven't really put a single team in here outside of maybe Darby and Orange Cassidy, if that's really where you want to send them, that like could become your tag team champions, and it would be interesting and a good thing for those belts in that division. You've got a million tag teams. You should have just done a giant tag team tournament and had a couple slots in there be random draws and then you're not taken away from your tag division for your heavyweight title storyline.
Yeah.
Like it's all a mess.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, if it's obvious you want MJF and Adam Cole, right? That's why they were the first ones picked. And okay, I get that, right? Everything else, let it be a clusterfuck, though. You know, like Jamie said, just make it weird, make it like stupid weird. You know, put in there like the Butcher and Matt Menard was a great example that they had there because that just like made no sense. It's great, right? Everything else, it's like you're trying to interweave storylines in the middle of it, and it's just messy as hell. And that's my only problem with this match is that going into it, you knew who's gonna win because they're obviously setting up this for whenever this final is going to be.
Yeah. And like Heather says, she wanted MJF and like Tony Nese and his abs. Well, I raise her Tony Nese and Switchblade Jay White, and they could have been team abs, and it would have been hilarious. It would have been a great gimmick, and it would have been fun. They would have lost, but who cares? It would have been fun.
Heather might have exploded.
Yeah,
I see your team abs, and I raise you Satnam Singh and Riho.
We're going intergender on this.
Oh my god, that would be the best thing.
It's a blind eliminator. Like make it a blind eliminator where it's like every AEW person. So like one team is like Britt Baker and Tony Schiavone. Like if you're gonna just get weird and nonsensical with shit, just go all in on it.
I mean, I want to see like Brody King and RJ City, you know?
Yeah. Like there's so many fun combinations, and that's the other thing too. Like, where's the match where you've got Brody King and some random babyface against Buddy Murphy or Buddy Matthews, or whatever he's calling himself these days, and another babyface? Like, where's that in a lethal lottery where you've got the people like friends facing each other on opposite sides?
I know, yeah.
And I think there's still it's like an 8-team bracket, so there's a few more teams to be named, I think, but still You've got too much just obvious pairings that would never be a blind draw for it to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now I really want Riho and Satnam Singh as a team.
Yeah, now you're making me think
kind
of gender teams. Like Joe and Nyla Rose as a team. Oh my god. That'd be like the greatest team.
Honestly, if AEW just straight up ripped off WWE's mixed match tournament and did an intergender tag instead of this blind,
hell yes.
That's a fun thing to last you the rest of the summer that doesn't have to actually mean anything to the other storylines.
Yeah.
That would be a good time.
I love the first mixed match challenge so much. It was unexpectedly glorious, and I'll check it out. Me and Jamie were talking about it when it happened, and it's like, oh my god, this is the best thing that's ever happened to wrestling. It was so good.
It was a good refresher, but I think maybe next year, because this eliminator thing, like this lethal lottery, is a great idea, but they're not doing it right. So maybe next year they do a Demolition Memorial Tag Team Tournament, because obviously they can't do the Dusty Cup. So they use Demolition, and it's all the, like, you have all these tag teams going head to head. Winner gets a spot against FTR or whoever the champ is at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be much better than what they're doing here.
A lot better.
It has to be Demolition Memorial Tournament.
Aside from this tournament being a mess, they are running 3 separate tournaments right now, and none of them seem all that important.
Not a one.
They're all pretty. I mean, the men's tournament is like we looked at the brackets, and it's one of those. It's like we already know basically everything except what the finish is going to be, right? And sure enough, the first 4 matches all turned out to be that way. You're telling, I mean, you're basically just telegraphing you're going to have Joe versus CM Punk, and then Will Hobbs versus Ricky Starks for part 28 or whatever, you know.
Well, yeah, because they're wrestling. Is it Saturday?
Saturday. Yeah. I mean, I'm tuning in for Joe versus Punk because.
Well, yeah.
I'm a simpleton.
And like that's fine to give us Joe versus Punk in the tournament, but these tournaments are 8 just kind of random people, and you don't get anything for winning the tournament. Like, throw some stakes on there. Make it something other than just a really big belt you get for one night to take home. Like,
Yeah, literally, you go like real nice, Clark, real nice, and that's it. That's it. That's all you get.
You want to talk about the other? Let's talk about the. Let's switch to the other blind eliminator tag match because that's a quick match to talk about.
Okay, so I assume you're wanting to talk about the MJF one, and Adam Cole Bay. Fun match, honestly. The fact that MJF texted Adam Cole before and goes, "You ready to do that double clothesline, bro?" Like, already set the tone on how this match was going to go. Obviously, MJF and Adam Cole won, but that really wasn't the match. That's no one really cares about the match.
No, that's not the story here. Who cares?
But okay, so the big thing in the match that I loved was the abdominal stretch spot because the entire crowd was like, "Do it, do it, do it," and then like he grabbed Adam Cole grabbed MJF's hand and everybody erupted because he was cheating with MJF. It was a symphony of awesomeness. Like the most underused, and I know how you feel about this, Austin. I'm gonna let you speak on it, but one of the most underused, like mid-ring submission type things, is the abdominal stretch with the cheating of grabbing the ropes or your partner's hand.
absolutely, absolutely. It's classic. It always gets a response. It is also used in the Bret Hart Stone Cold 96 Survivor Series match, so just throwing that out there. Yeah, great spot. And I kind of talked about this a bit last week, though. I don't like this thing with MJF and Adam Cole in the context of what MJF has been doing for all of this year. Like, the segments themselves are funny, but the dude literally calls himself the devil and has been like just a monstrous piece of shit. And so to see him like immediately become silly for no real reason, like what he's been doing has been working fine. The whole thing, it just seems like, hey, I got an idea, this would be funny, and then they just did it, but it doesn't really fit with anything you've seen MJF do. And then we talked about this last week as well a little bit, but the shit in the locker room with Roddy, where he's asking Adam Cole, like, what's up with you and MJF? And MJF is texting him, like, why does every male member of the AEW locker room act like a 15-year-old girl backstage? Stop doing that, please.
I have a wild hypothesis. It's not really that wild, but I have a theory about all of that. Okay, because both things are 100% correct. That yes, this is funny, right? This is legitimately funny. I mean, shit. MJF called in and then subbed on Adam Cole's Twitch stream this past Saturday. I know because I was watching it live and I go, this is amazing. This is such good continuity.
Do the thing. Do the thing, man. Do the thing.
He's like, hey, well, he called him up to talk about their look and, suggested he needs to cut his hair. And he's like, I'm streaming. Remember we talked about boundaries? Okay, we talked about, and then like literally 15, 20 minutes later, he gets into playing the game and he goes, hey, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the bits. Thanks to Maxwell Jacob Free for 3 months. What is, it was great. But it's funny, but yes, it's also, you're 1,000% correct. It makes no sense to go continuity.
Yeah.
Unless there's a bigger payoff here, right? Because we're all assuming we all know this is gonna end between the two of them, right? How's it going to end though, right? You're getting Roddy involved with this, right? On the surface, it makes it look like it's going to end with them, turning and Roddy's there. Maybe with Kyle O'Reilly to get his back and the formation of whatever the new Undisputed Era name is going to be in AEW, right?
Yeah.
So, or is this maybe, and I'm just throwing, I don't think this is it, but I'm just saying, what if this is like the longest play ever for MJF, right? It's similar to what he did against Chris Jericho, I know, and therein lies a different type of problem. But what if this is a long play and all the shtick is just to try and get into Adam Cole, but he knows everything that's going on so that he can come in there and just be the major asshole to one of the biggest baby faces in the world. I know we have a guest appearance that wants to come in right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Stradamus making their illustrious return, apparently, to either shit on or confirm my hypotheses.
Just like I foretold the switcheroo of heel and face and heel for Britt Baker, this is going to happen again. MJF will turn face.
No.
Adam Cole will turn heel. As I have said it, it has been foretold. Ultimate play. He's still going to be a tweener. Don't get me wrong.
So
the play is for Adam Cole to be heel.
Here's the problem with that. What can Adam Cole do to MJF to really turn both of them? Because, like, the crowd likes to cheer. Like, that's the problem. MJF is a heel, but he's not like a hated heel, but he's also not someone you're just going to love as a babyface. Like, and kind of same thing with Adam Cole. The crowd wants to see heel Adam Cole. Like, that's the best. So it's like a weird thing where I think if you try a double turn, the reactions don't really change for either of them.
So this is how I think it plays out. Obviously, I think it's very, very obvious they're going to be the ones who win. And they're going to go up against FTR. And there's going to be a moment where they have a chance to win against FTR. And Adam Cole is going to low blow, arm style, MJF in the middle of the ring, give him the wizard, or give him the boom. Sorry, give him the boom. He's officially heel. Everybody's gonna start feeling bad for MJF. He's still gonna be a tweener dickhead, but everybody's gonna love him even more, and he becomes face because of it.
I don't see him. I don't see him going face, man. I just don't. They tried to send. Heather said they tried to turn him face casually, and they backed away from it because it didn't make any sense.
Oh, Heather's talking about something I really want to get into.
Really quick though, the other problem with your scenario is that FTR are faces. If MJF and Adam Cole are about to win, and Adam Cole low blows MJF and costs him the tag team titles, that's not a face move.
But it's a low blow, so it's a dirty move, and a dirty guy. That's
you never get rude for punching a heel in the dick. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, that's fair.
You do it to a heel,
that needs to be a T-shirt. I think that's my next T-shirt I'm making.
Yes,
but it's a work, and this is what's gonna happen.
It's a work. Everything's a work, ladies and gentlemen.
And so, like, they could even do it to where MJF's whole plan was, if we actually win the tag titles, he won't come after me for the world title. Okay. But also, like, take some time setting that up. And why are we going from, like, them being announced as partners last week to now they've already spent a weekend lifting together and they're texting each other, and Adam Cole's genuinely thanking him for the birthday celebration? Like, why not a few weeks of MJF just being like, hey, man, I know I can be a pain in the ass sometimes, but I'm serious about winning these tag titles, and I'm all in on this. And then, like, slowly getting more cheesy and kind of disingenuous with it, instead of just, like, going from the devil to silly MJF over the course of a week for no reason.
That's fair.
I think we all can agree there's definitely a turn coming. Something
is afoot.
Something's afoot. I hope that it just results in, like I said, whatever AEW's version of Undisputed Era is. Is that capturing lightning in a bottle twice? Perhaps, but hey, I'll take. Let me see what their shot at that is. Who knows? It could be good.
So let's pivot real quick because I do want to talk about this. So, Austin, one of the things that's really hard to do as a wrestler, is to get a reaction out of a crowd, right? And especially heat. Like there's different levels of heat. There's the cheap heat where you say, "Oh, this town sucks," blah blah blah. Then there's the this heat because you're a bad guy, and then you have the X-Pac heat where nobody wants you there. They just hate you. They just want you to go away, not necessarily like as a heel, just as a person. And then you have Iron Sheik heat, which is the ultimate nuclear heat that is the best. So I think it speaks volumes that a Canadian in Canada that doesn't necessarily come around there got Iron Sheik level heat tonight.
I didn't even think tonight was as loud as Forbidden Door in Toronto, where they were booing the roof off the building at Don Callis. It's phenomenal.
He is a master, and I want to be his Padawan. I want to understand.
You want that heat.
I want to understand how to get that heat.
Yeah, so getting heat in general isn't as difficult as you would think. It's been kind of the same shit for decades and decades and decades. Mm-hmm. The problem is a lot of heels today want to be liked. Like they want to do shitty heelish things, but they also want to be kind of cool and kind of funny. And you don't get nuclear heat being cool and funny. It's like I was saying with MJF. He'll get booze sometimes, but it's not that Don Callis heat. And if anyone in the company should be getting that kind of heat, it should be MJF. Mm-hmm. But he likes to be funny and he likes to be kind of like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of like, oh, we're all in on it, which dude's over his shit. Like, it's entertaining. It's fine. But you don't truly get nuclear heat like that unless you are willing to not be the slightest bit likable, which you just don't get a lot of anymore. And I'm so glad Don Callis has mastered that.
I mean, he hasn't done anything that's like outlandish to get him there, right? Just the right turn at the right time. And then I think more importantly, he knows when to shut up. And he knows when to use it, which is a thing that other people don't do, right? You know, especially that first one. Like, remember the first time he came out post a screw job or screwdriver job, we should call it. He said like 10 words because he kept stopping like he couldn't, and it was the perfect thing to do. He actually came out to, I want to call it music. It was honestly just a single note, like a bass. It was like some Hans Zimmer, you know, just like.
It was the brown note.
It was the
for any of you South Park fans.
Oh man, it was like straight out like the Doom soundtrack, or like the Dune soundtrack, the B side. But he, you know, I think that's like you said, you know, it's like it's the perfect person to do it. But it's hard to tell because we're watching it through TV. But it felt like this was maybe beyond Forbidden Door. This might have been up there because, boy, they were digging into him, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, fuck you, Callis chants, and then this weird face turny Chris Jericho, because obviously he's in Canada and all that stuff, so he had to do the Canadian pop thing, and like they're like, I couldn't hear a thing you were saying because these people are booing you. You know, it's just like even him to like call it out too. It's like it's amazing. I've been a fan of wrestling for the better part of 30 plus years. Easy. 35 probably. I'm 42 now. You know, and I can only remember, I'm 43 actually. I can only remember maybe a handful of times where a heel really got this level of heat. Consistently. Handful. Flair. Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Maybe Dominic Mysterio if it's real.
He's getting X-Pac heat. I think he's getting X-Pac.
He's getting X-Pac. I don't think this isn't Iron Sheik, of course, right?
No, I disagree. I think he's getting legitimate heat. I think people enjoy booing Dominic.
Yeah, and he's got a punchable face.
It's not that they want him to go away and they just are uninterested when he's in the ring. They just don't want him to talk. And like, that's a good amount of heat because Dominic isn't good at talking. So if you can go out there, as soon as you pick up the mic, they just start booing. Your job's fucking done, brother. Like, soak it in.
You win. Here's your check.
Yeah, like with Dom, you wanted to hate his babyface character because it was, you shouldn't be here. You're here because of who your dad is, but you don't have any of the things your dad had. Why are you here? And then you still get that, but now that he's a heel, like it makes you want to hate him more. But now you're cool with hating him. It's not just like fuck off, get off my TV. It's all right. Now, like I feel more justified booing this guy because they're not trying to present him like just some kid who happens to have a famous dad. Like now he's giving me a reason to boo him. I'm good. And like the put him with Rhea has been.
I was just gonna say all the stuff with Rhea has made it even better for me. You know, is perfect. The mommy and oh my god,
he's getting real heat. Probably not the same level as Don Callis. I think one of the only other times I've heard like this level of booing was after Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker. When he just stood in the ring for like 2 straight minutes while the crowd booed him and he said, "This is my yard now," and left.
Right. Like, well, here's the thing is like, the difference is it's like, I can think of a good number of moments that fit in that, right? Hell, I mean, Bash at the Beach when Hogan turned on and he announced the New World Order, that was a lot of heat. They were getting real heat, right? And then a week later, everybody had NWO shirts on, right? You know? Where was this to Jamie's point, I think a little bit too, sustained heat, right? That's kind of the thing. Like, that's the rarity in today's day and age is the sustained real heat, right? Even MJF, like you said, the second his music hits, everybody cheers, and he comes out, and then they boo. It was like a loving boo they give him almost, right?
It's like a courtesy boo.
It's a courtesy boo. I don't even know, basically, yeah. I don't even know, like, off the top of my head, like, when the last real one was, you know? Like to get this of sustained heat like this.
Yeah, it's hard to do with in-ring talent because usually they're going to do, if like they're at the level where they're going to get any reaction to that regard, there's going to be a certain amount of the fans that are going to enjoy their shit and they're going to kind of want to cheer. I'm kind of like you with the MJF. Like people want to cheer and then boo. Don Callis can do nothing that I'm trying to think how to articulate this. I'll say that like a fan would find positive throughout the show. Like there's nothing to like that Don Callis does.
Yeah.
He's only there to instigate shit and hurt the guys you fucking like. And it's like, that's how you get that heat. There's no, oh, but he's kind of funny here. Like, no, he's a weasel. He's a coward at all times. And he does nothing but interfere with Kenny Omega. And because the crowd loves Kenny, it gets him the perfect amount of heat.
Yeah, he made it official. He's calling it Don Callis' family.
Get more
his
people.
Faction. So I mean, I love that. That's perfect. And they better mafia style. Let's go, man.
Yeah, so we might not even get through the entire card because some of these matches just sucked. Okay, like the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass one, whatever. Okay, so because it was fine, but I really want to get into this Don Callis family thing because it reminds me of Bobby the Brain Heenan's old faction back in the day. That was just Bobby's people. Remember, like Bobby just had people.
Oh yeah. He didn't have
perfect.
Right.
Yeah. So who's next?
Well, he offered
Chris Jericho.
And Jericho gave him a big fat maybe.
Yeah.
The Jerichoholic. Let me ask the Jerichoholic on the panel here. Do you think Jericho is going to be in Don Callis' family?
Well, first off, I was really pissed off because somebody put a goddamn question mark at the end of the teleprompter for him. So he had to answer like a question. And it was just, I don't know. I feel like that speech right there that Jericho gave before that makes me feel like we're going to get a face turn for Jericho. Jericho really hasn't been a face for that long in AEW. He's been there 3 years. I think he had his longest face run was like 6 months. And it was at best. But Jericho obviously is a better heel.
Sure.
He's a better lead heel. Like I don't see it happening. I think you need to build around Kineske and Callis with other not I wouldn't say A tier, but B tier level talent, C tier level talent to elevate them to become A tier. Because literally Kineske, we all knew he was special, but technically he was a B/A, and since he's been associated with it, he is instantly 100% A.
Who would you think, Austin? Who would you put in there?
Certainly.
I know you asked us, but I'm punting on the question here to you.
Yeah, so certainly not Chris Jericho. He has no business being in the Don Callis faction.
No.
people have had this rumor about him for a while in AEW, but this doesn't help to dispel the rumor that he seems just want to latch on to whatever's hot at the time. Because Don Callis is the most over heel in the company right now. Jericho doesn't need to be there. Jericho will take away from it because he's going to come out with this theme that everyone's going to sing, and they're still going to kind of like the guys. When you need heel, like Takesha's already liked as a heel, and that's like the most over heel you need in that faction. I think it's a good place if we're doing a draft for the Don Callis family.
Okay.
And Takesha's already there, so he's off the board.
Yeah.
I think my first pick would be Wardlow.
Oh, War Daddy as a heel.
I think heel Wardlow with Don Callis as a mouthpiece, being the muscle for Takeshita.
Oh, I'm seeing a pattern here already.
He's like a god. But what else are you doing with Wardlow right now? What else can you do with Wardlow as a face? You tried the face run. It didn't get over. Have Callis be the guy who goes, bruh, I make stars. Come join the family. Because Wardlow's got charisma. Like, he's not just useless, but you've got to find something interesting to do with him, and you should probably put him with someone that can get him heat.
Okay. I like that. And I think I see a pattern here. I'm gonna go next if that's all right, Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay on this pattern because what does Callis do good? Talk.
I knew you were going here because that's where I was
English,
gonna go. I hate you.
Takeshita's English is not that great. Wardlow sucks on the mic. And somebody who recently turned heel, who is a talent, A-level talent in the ring, Jungle Boy Jack Perry in Don Callis' family. Be like, hey kid, you're trying to do this whole thing. He fails to beat Hook for the FTW championship, right? Mm-hmm. Here's Don Callis' opportunity to come up to him and be like, hey kid, here's the thing. You got the skill, you got this, but you're missing something. I can give it to you, right? And then we don't have to hear him talk, but he can still be heel. He can still talk a little because he did good talking last week. We agreed on that, Austin. But imagine him because he's a legitimate top tier you could put in there, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great pick as well. I do think in that same scenario, I would change it slightly, and I would have Christian come up and be like, hey, I love the new attitude. I got your back out there against Hook, and Jungle Boy to tell Christian, I don't need you, whatever. And then Callis to come out. And then you can turn Christian, get a nice little nostalgia babyface run out of him because like the heel thing's been great, but with Jungle Boy kind of resolved, you've got Luchasaurus, but like, again, they haven't been around much. Like it's a good chance to do something interesting with Christian for a little while. But yeah, I think Jungle Boy is a great pick for the Don Callis family.
All right, Jamie, is that where you were going?
Yeah, I was originally going to go that route because it just makes so much damn sense. But with that being said, I have to be different.
Sure.
I go completely out of left field here because this is draft picks, right? So that draft pick's off the board. So I got to go with somebody else who needs a talker, who is a big guy, who is kind of in something else just to give them something to do, if you ask me. And I think Powerhouse Hobbs would be an excellent addition.
I was just thinking that one right before you started talking. Yeah, Hobbs would be a really good one as well.
The QTV crew thing, that's just dumb.
But like, put Wardlow and Hobbs with them and throw them in the tag division.
Oh my God, think about the big meaty men slapping meat. That's what they can just call themselves.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold that thought for 1 second.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
I have a soundboard now, so everybody on the stream heard that. Okay.
And then just a quick aside on that, you're literally in the middle of a blind eliminator tag tournament. Why aren't Wardlow and Hobbs? I gotta understand Hobbs in the Owen, but like Wardlow and Hobbs would have been a great team for the blind eliminator tournament.
Oh, that's a wet dream of just muscles.
So, using our very brief and super scientific draft, you have Takeshita, Jungle Boy, Wardlow, Hobbs. So you got the big meat towers. Ooh. We got the Meat Towers of Power tag team.
I got so many dark humor jokes just wrapped.
And then you got Takeshita and Jack Perry, who, depending on how each one progresses, one could be a top tier and one could be a second level title contender, right?
Yeah, TNT.
Flip flop, however, TNT. I mean, Jack, you would think would be on the line for the AEW title. That's what he wants, right? Well, this and Takeshita, we all agree, is going to be there eventually, but at this point in his career, probably more that second tier guy, right? So that's a good solid roster, I think.
I think Kineska is higher than Jack Perry. I don't care.
I would put him over Jungle Boy.
I understand.
JP.
I'm just personally, I agree with that. Yes. What do I think would happen? I think it'd be the other way around.
I mean, just from size alone, though, like, I don't think you necessarily have to be a giant dude or bodybuilder to be a world champion, but like both the guys fighting over your world title right now are like 5'8". Jungle Boy's like 5'8". Like, after a while,
you want to see, I hear
you want your top guys to look like superheroes, at least some of them. Like, this is
every
it's
once in a
entertainment. Yeah, and it's cool to see smaller guys get runs here and there, but like Takeshita's like 6'3", 220, just a specimen of a human being. That's world championship material right there.
Did y'all see Takeshita from Warrior Wrestling this past weekend going against Warhorse?
Yeah, he's doing the hurdles. Oh my God.
Go on Twitter and see it, because I saw it, but then I saw like a different angle on Twitter from so imagine I'm Warhorse and I'm on a hurdle kind of here, and behind me are a bunch of other hurdles. That's what I originally saw from, but there's a second angle that's in front of Warhorse right here. So but over his shoulder, you see, the camera work was fantastic. You see Takeshita, hurdle, super kick.
It was sick.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
I agree with Heather. Heather said that she's more inclined to think Daniel or Sammy would join Don. That was my first inclination, and if I had to be, I think that's very likely, honest to God, especially Daniel.
Yeah, it's time for Sammy to be solo. It's time to see if he can fly by himself.
He's got to be face now. They've done all this work now. He's got the baby coming. I think they're putting the work in to make him face. I could see Daniel, though, and Daniel fits the mold that we talked about. Great wrestler, bad talker, needs someone to kind of be there for him, which is why he's, I think that Don would
get him out of the stupid leather pants for all of us.
Keep doing the dance. I love the dance, though.
Signed by the fans.
I love the dance. I love the dancing. He's shown some personality. I think he needs to be away from factions for a while.
I do too.
Like, he's just been doing. Sammy's the same thing. Although I'm not interested in anything Sammy Guevara does. So
most people aren't.
And that's the problem. Like, they're probably going to turn Sammy face and give him a face run. But how over is he ever really going to be as a face? He has no real personality. He can't really talk. He just jumps off things, and it's cool when he does. But that's got a pretty limited shelf life.
Well, they did that once and it worked, and he won the TNT title, right? The night he proposed to his ex-girlfriend. And that was literally the peak of it. And then after that, it was just like, what do we do now?
Like, he's just, you can build a decent little story around him, but he's not interesting enough to like keep that momentum going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from you as well. Who else would you put in there? Do you disagree with our picks? Give us a comment, give us a tweet, at Total Spotfest. Let us know. We may or may not be on whatever Instagram's new one is soon. Who knows, right? I don't know.
Threads.
We'll see.
Damn it.
Okay, so we have tons of promos and bullshit, but I didn't want to talk about the women's match, naturally.
Did I?
Yeah, so did I. The Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Women's Qualifier Quarterfinal. Ruby Soho with the Outcast.
Hey, Ruby.
Going up against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, in her Hart Foundation gear.
Bringing out last year's Hart Foundation tournament belt. So it was at least a 2-night belt, Austin. Just saying.
She didn't defend it tonight. Ruby didn't leave.
No, she just brought it out to show everybody, basically.
Which now, granted, in hindsight, so I don't fault them for not doing this, but Ruby absolutely should just grab that title after she won and just started carrying it around. Like, again, like I said earlier, getting heat is not hard if you just do basic shitty heel things. Like, you've got your babyface, brings this title she's proud of to the ring that she won last year that you know is not in the line. You cheat to win, and now you just take it and you're just hanging on to it. Oh, I beat her. She brought it to the ring. She defended it. It's mine. Like, it's easy classic heel heat.
Yeah, it's like the old $1 million belt.
Yeah.
I mean, the best heat that Ruby has ever gotten in all her time on the pro circuit as, you know, a heel. And the part that like the storyline that really, like, I liked Ruby a lot, you know, tattooed chick, cool, right? You know, I really got endeared to her as a character and everything during the whole Natty Neihard storyline, right? She's going against Natty, you know, the Riot Squad back in WWE, and in the middle of that, Jim Anvil Neidhart dies, and they don't drop the bit. She steals Jim the Anvil Neidhart's sunglasses, which Natty was wearing at ringside, and smashes them in front of her face. It was, as you said, the easiest but the best heel thing you can do, and it was like one of those that instantly. Remember, when we saw them at Raw when they came to Kansas City, she was just doing a promo, and she started off the promo about how sorry she was, and she had this devilish smile, and then she just turned it into like a 3-minute, you know, hate fest on Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the entire place was just booing their ass off against her. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
And that's when I really got endeared to Ruby at that time. But you're right. Why not? It's right there. Fucking take it.
Take it. Like, give me something interesting and fun, and like make me believe y'all actually don't like each other because you've been feuding for weeks. And this is what I was saying earlier. I had thoughts about this match. I have no reason to assume this, but it looked like Britt was just mailing it in because she wasn't going over. I'm not saying that's the case. I have no reason to accuse her of that. But there was, for someone you've been feuding with for like, 2 months now, then there was even a promo beforehand about you'll never take my pride. You'll never take the fact that I won this last year. There was never a second gear. Even though you've got 2 other girls on the outside cheating the entire time, like, Britt just never found that second gear, never had any intensity. Oh. It was just moving from spot to spot and having a match. I love the finish. The finish was great. Mm-hmm. Everything else before that was just kind of like, I mean, you're in a tournament. Progressing is on the line. You're already in a feud. Y'all have been beating each other up.
Big meaty man.
Like, show me that.
I feel like, Jamie, you go. I'll give you my thought here. I'll give you my retort in a second.
So I watched this match, and it was lackluster, in my opinion. It should have been way better than it was. I agree with you. I thought it was still an okay match. You know, it's like it wasn't terrible, but I agree. Like it felt like both of them were kind of going through the motions a little bit, and it didn't have the fervor and fire that it had a few weeks ago when they were feuding, when they had all their groups. Like it just didn't have it. It just was just blah. That's probably the best way to put it.
And, you know, my whole take on it, you know, and I'm a little bit biased. We all know that. But I agree with you. It feels like, look at the whole picture of Britt and Ruby, right? So they had the whole bit back at MetLife at Grand Slam. No. Mm-hmm. Grand Slam. Grand Slam 1, right? They got the main event and all this stuff. And even at that, building up to it, there actually was a decent storyline there because they're from the similar area of the country, same past, same people that they crossed in their history, right? In the past, right? This and that. And Ruby had to work the hard road and did all this. And, you know, Britt got preferential treatment, but Britt's like, well, you went to the big show and I had to come up from the ground and make it was like, this is like the easiest fucking, it's like, hey, this is instant story. And that all felt one-sided in the promos leading up to it. And it was really never in doubt that Britt was going to win. right?
Right.
Fast forward to this time here, I felt it was the exact same. Last week, Britt was sick, or is the work, like you said. Once again, you set up the work. Either way,
always a work. Always a work.
Everything's a work. But either way, Ruby has a good match. Hey, Ruby has a good match on TV. Fun, fine, right? But then she gives a heartfelt promo, right? She does her best. She gives it out. You know, is it the most compelling thing ever? Not necessarily, because the story is a little bit one-sided, because Britt's just like, even her promo ahead of time, just like, meh, I won last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, it feels to me like, I don't want to accuse. I'm not going to do the accusing too much, but it feels like we're going to do this, but you can't damage Britt's ego or her name because she's Tony's girl.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think if you look at the whole of Britt Baker in AEW, she worked as the champion for the long run that was surrounded by two heaters that were going to cheat. It was like the JBL title run, where you knew he should have lost every match, but he kept finding ways to cheat and win. And as the focus, she worked in the women's division when she's presented as the focus of the division. Outside of that, I don't know what she does really well that most of the rest of your women's divisions do, and she kind of just gets overshadowed. Like, there's not much else there beyond that presentation of her just as this is our top woman in the company.
Right. I mean, do you think that her wrestling is... She's not the best wrestler in the women's division.
It's fine, but it's not remarkable.
Jamie's better, Tony's better, Ruby's better, Willow's better.
I mean, her and Ruby botched a basic ass spot tonight. And
yeah.
And I get it, like slip ups happen and stuff, but like really crisp wrestlers, you normally don't see slip ups on stuff like that, like just like a little basic wrist lock suplex. And I think, like I said, I think part of it's effort. It did just kind of look like she was just mailing it in.
Exactly.
But yeah, even like her work's good enough for an interesting story, but they don't give interesting stories to the women division either. So like, yeah, there's just what do you do with Britt Baker? And I think it goes to your point, because she's Tony's girl, they don't want to have her like actually cleanly putting everyone over or going back to just being someone else in the division.
Right.
But she's also not at the top. So like she's in this weird limbo where she never really progresses anywhere.
Her best storyline was after she broke her nose and did all that and came back, she went from the bottom up to get the title, right? And then she had the whole Thunder Rosa feud, and that was some real heat behind it, sure, but it was good because of that. And since then, it's just been, this is my girl, and she gets almost protected.
Well,
and it's just,
here's the thing: if you've been watching AEW from the inception, you know this. Britt as a face is boring as hell.
It's not good face. She's really not.
She is so much better as a heel, but the problem is the Outcasts are killing it as heels right now. They are. So you have to have her as a face. She's a mediocre face at best. And that's not a hot take. That's fact, ladies and gentlemen. You can watch the old stuff. Old Britt, you know, the original Britsburg stuff. And god awful. And now, like, she knew she lost, to your guys' point, mailed it in. And luckily the crowd was hot enough to make it feel like it was okay. So the crowd probably saved that match, because if it wasn't for the crowd, like, just being involved even on the most mundane thing, that match would have just been crickets. Like, it would have been an old school Alicia Fox versus Natty Neidhart main event match. Just nothing.
It hurts the Outcasts that they don't have any top baby faces to really work with them, because Britt, it's kind of like the MJF thing I was saying earlier.
Right.
What are the Outcasts are going to do to Britt that's going to make you really feel for her? Because we watched Britt and her two friends do the exact same thing they're doing for like 18 months straight with no real repercussions.
Right.
But now, that being said, they do have a babyface that's over enough, and it's Willow. And please, for the love of God, push her, because she should be in that spot at the top.
And they have set up the whole, like, honestly, I think it's more because Jamie had the title, you know. Jamie and and Britt and whatever. Technically, if you look at like what the Outcasts are and what they stand for, they really shouldn't be going against these established women. They should be going against, the people who they really are going against: Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, right?
Yeah.
I think that they fall under the same breath, right? But Britt Baker's been here for a while. She has an indie background. Same with Tony Storm, but these are like newer women to the scene. That's really kind of and the ethos of the Outcast is against them getting the preferential treatment and the push because they're new and fun and yay, all this stuff. When they're the established women, it's like, I feel like Sky Blue and Willow is the better angle in general and is blatantly obvious from, once again, you saw the brackets. You picked it, I know you guys disagreed with me when I was talking about Ruby, but it made sense. Ruby versus Sky, Willow versus whoever. And then it's going to be Willow versus Ruby at the end because you're trying to push Willow over with a win or a loss. You're still pushing Willow into that kind of main event.
They already do
look.
Willow and Athena.
Willow and Athena, that's what it is. Yeah. No, that's on Saturday, I think.
Okay.
Willow's winning that one. I'm calling it now.
Willow better win that one.
It's going to be Willow Ruby, and then I think it's 50-50, right? Because I think either way you're pushing Willow in main event. Do you give Ruby a shot, a championship? It just boosts the whole, Outcast, heel, we own all the stuff thing. Or do you put Willow over now that she's lost the New Japan Strong title? Give her that. Either way, I think they win if they have a good enough match, and I think Willow and Ruby can have a good match.
Yeah, and I think you got to put Willow over because she's over as shit with your crowd, and just start pushing her, please. But two, if Ruby does end up winning, it's the exact same tournament you had last year. Heel girl with two friends cheats to beat everybody.
Yeah. I just want Ruby to win one thing. Just let her win one thing.
But I was actually about to say the opposite of that. Ruby can never win. Ruby can win matches here and there, but Ruby's appeal, like what makes Ruby endearing is that she always loses when it matters. Like she's never going to get that big push. She's never going to win the big one, but that makes you like her. It makes her endearing.
I hear you.
But yeah, I
agree.
I would like to see Willow win it. And if they're not going to do Tony and Julia in Wembley, do Tony and Willow at least. Like,
okay.
Willow she's over as a babyface to a degree that you don't really get in the women's division at AEW.
I mean, to be fair, the most obvious answer for Wembley is Tony and Jamie if Jamie's healthy.
Yeah, which
I think if Jamie's healthy, even, and it pains me to say this, it makes more sense than Julia by far, right?
Mm-hmm. You get Julia show up the next week, I guess, at All Out.
Or you do Tony or Hayter and Julia at All In, and the winner faces Tony the next week.
Yeah. Ooh.
Because they're going to have to do some of that. Like, you've got 2 pay-per-views back-to-back.
Yeah.
You got 8 weeks to build them. So you should have some stuff that if it happens in Wembley, it'll set something up for the next one. But yeah, I think...
Because then they can still sell the All Out. We talked about this last week too, Jamie, that they better have a combo package for this son of a bitch.
They better, because that's going to be expensive as all.
Especially with it being on goddamn Bleacher Report, But rest of the world gets Fight TV. Why can't we have it on Fight TV?
Yes, they have an app for my TV. That would be nice.
I mean, they have an actual decent. Okay, we're not going to keep shitting on Bleacher Report because that could.
All right. So
let's go.
We've talked enough about.
Let's go.
Britt just mailing it in. Let's move on to the main event. As much as I love that first match, this was main event was match of the night for me. Like a technical masterclass.
It was very good I know Wheeler pinned Kenny a few weeks ago, but like it's still more of the BCC and the Elite. I know they're eventually going to do Blood and Guts, but like I understand you had to have Kenny there because you're in Canada, but also Kenny just got dropped on his head and screwdrivered and 18. Like, can we have him away for a couple weeks to sell that to like?
Right.
Because they even put over on comments like, "Oh, I talked to Kenny earlier. He said he's good to go." Okay, I'm sure he is because this shit isn't real. But like, make your show make a little more sense.
Could you do Hangman and Wheeler maybe? You know.
Yeah. Or at the very least, have Kenny come out there with the old DDP 3 years of having his ribs ace bandaged up, and have him say, "You know what? I've been told I should not wrestle yet. Ospreay kicked the shit out of me, but I'm here in Canada, and I'm not going to let you people down. I'm going to go beat Wheeler Yuta's ass." Like, give us that at least. Give us like fill in the gaps a little bit.
Yeah, like obviously he wrestled because he was in Canada. That was the most obvious thing. Excellent match.
In Canada, the closest they're going to be to Winnipeg is Edmonton right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking for. Just like fill it in a little bit.
So to your point, like let's just go into this. They officially announced Blood and Guts. Each team has one extra spot to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Woo!
are those people?
Woo!
So it's Dragons out. So we've got Mox, Claudio, Yuta, and who's the fourth? Or are we finding a fourth?
Takeshita.
Yeah.
Oh,
Takeshita's in there, so you need a fifth because it's 5 on 5.
Yeah, on the official graphic they had Takeshita, so we need a fifth.
So the fifth, I'm leaning towards the fifth either being somebody that joins with Don Callis, or I know I said earlier he needs to just go off and do his own thing, but if they could like swipe Daniel Garcia, that would work for me too.
Mark Stradamus is knocking at the door. He wants to come.
Oh, there we are.
He is. Oh, I got to put on right though. All right. So here we go. Pretty easy. This is easy, ladies and gentlemen. Child's play. The BCC will add one Wardlow. I like that pick of Wardlow. So Mark Stradamus is going with it.
If Wardlow joins Don Callis and gets thrown into Blood and Guts, I'm all here for it. Like,
Please.
What a way to make Wardlow relevant in the course of a few weeks.
Plus, he'll do something stupid like do a swanton from the top of the cage.
Yeah. Oh, and it's never bad to have just a giant powerhouse in a multi-man gimmick match. Like,
no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
He will toss the Young Bucks around like sandbags. It'll be great.
So
on the other side
it was him, or I was gonna go with Santana because Santana's officially healthy.
Ooh.
That wouldn't be bad.
It'd be a good way to get him relevant again. But for the Elite, this is gold. And there's a certain golden lover that would look good in AEW. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Kota Ibushi will be the fifth participant for the Elite. I have foretold it. This thing's great, by the way.
That would be cool. But if you were going to bring him in, why didn't you just do that? Like, why did Ishii tag with them at Forbidden Door? Like, why?
Oh, there's no way Ibushi was going to be on. New Japan was not going to have Ibushi on their show.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is fair. But, like, then again,
talking.
Not a chance.
But then again, I'm sure New Japan wouldn't be that much happier about him showing up on later shit either.
It's not their show. I mean, they don't have much to, he's going to show up in AEW. We know this.
True.
Yeah, it would be cool. But also, like, if you're going to bring someone like him in, I'd rather him show up for a big singles match first instead of getting thrown basically right into 5-on-5 blood and guts gimmick.
It protects his shoulder. It protects his shoulder. Because he's got that bum shoulder.
But I think it makes him seem like less of a big deal to get him thrown in with this storyline that's been going for 6 months, and we're literally just looking for replacements again because they just did that for Forbidden Door. Found extra guys.
But I feel like then it gets him into AEW. Then they can finally close this chapter at All In or All Out, and then it's done, and you can move on with the storyline.
Yeah, I'm good with anything that ends this BCC versus Elite storyline. It's gone on plenty long enough. Oh, I remember that brings me, just going back to the main event really quick. If you were going to do Kenny versus a member of the BCC, why didn't you give us Kenny versus Claudio for 20 minutes of TV? Like, Yuta's great, and Yuta and Kenny had a good match, but who doesn't want to see Kenny Omega versus Claudio for 20 minutes of free TV?
That's a good point. I mean, I think it's Claudio's the ROH champion. It's easier to put Kenny over somebody who's you put out the punching bag, right? This is a kind of as much as I enjoyed the match itself, the story around it was a layup, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
It was Wheeler because Wheeler's easy to beat, right? You could beat him; it doesn't nobody any harm, right? You put Claudio out there, one of them's got to lose. Who do you give it to, right? One of your champions or one of your top guy. I mean, just put Wheeler out there. Fuck it, right?
Ring of Honor is separated enough, and not a ton of people watch Ring of Honor anyway.
Right.
Like, you could have Kenny beat Claudio on Dynamite and never mention it in Ring of Honor. Or if you wanted to sell some Ring of Honor pay-per-views, be like, hey, Omega, go work the main of the next Death by Dishonor. We want to sell some more pay-per-views. And then have some kind of fucked finish for Claudio to retain the ROH title. Or you could even put it on Kenny. You don't need to. But, like, there's ways out of that.
Kenny would take
I'm
it,
just
too.
being selfish because I want to see Kenny Omega versus Claudio.
Yeah, me too. That would have been a
that.
much better play.
All right, my picks for Blood and Guts.
Okay.
I agree with Ibushi. They've been teasing it for a while. I think it makes sense to have it go on a show that's nowhere near associated with New Japan, right? Ibushi's good, right? I think that the BCC and Takeshita, who's not technically part of the BCC, let me just state that he's part of Don Callis' family, adds Evil Uno as their fifth. If you saw when the show was cutting off, because they ran late tonight, they ran over, and they did the BT trigger, and then they were setting up Yuta to get plowed with a steel chair from Hangman. When who comes out to pull the chair out of Hangman's backswing, but the Dark Order and Evil Uno. I think they're going to put Evil Uno in there.
Solid pick. I don't like it, but it's a solid pick.
Yeah, like, it would make sense for sure. I don't think anyone would be overly jazzed about Evil Uno being thrown in there.
Unless they rip off his mask.
I love me some Evil Uno. I mean, I
So
love
do
the Dark Order. I just figured that their time's passed, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
they're not giving up on them, which I appreciate.
I like Uno too, but I think throwing them into your main event storyline is a little much. I do think it's interesting that we're all guessing who the last member of the Bullet or Blackpool Combat Club's team is going to be, and no one even bothered mentioning CM Punk.
No.
No way in hell.
Like,
we're all smarter than that. Come on.
He's been back for 3 weeks, and everyone's already forgot about, let's see him fight the Elites. It's just, all right, let everyone go do their own things. Let's just do something else.
Yeah, speaking of Big Mill Phil. Yeah, speaking of Big Mill Phil, hitting 660,000 on Saturday. Didn't hit the mill mark.
No, they were under 500 for Saturday, I thought.
No, 660.
Oh, okay. That must have been Rampage.
Yeah, I thought it was less, although I don't really pay attention to ratings because never in the history of my life has anyone asked me if I watched something.
That's fair.
Well, there's
Also,
always a first.
People get into ratings, but at the end of the day, both AEW and WWE are getting paid a shitload of money for their programming. So clearly they're doing well enough.
Right. Like, it's good because it justifies that, but they have contracts already set up. They're already getting money.
Yeah.
Don't worry about either one of them.
And like, people get all up in the air about ratings, but they just kind of look at a week, and they don't put in the context of anything else and all that. And it's just one of those things fans like to argue about on the internet because the internet exists and people are bored with too much free time on their hands. But I've never once cared how many other people watch something as long as I watched it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, final thoughts about Dynamite, guys.
It was okay.
Ups and downs. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick a lot of things apart, mostly because it's more interesting than just going, that was okay for every segment of the show. But I do genuinely appreciate that no matter what week I tune in, I've never watched an episode of Dynamite and afterwards thought anything less than, that was a fine night of wrestling TV. Like its floor is, what else would I be watching for 2 hours on a Wednesday night? Like it's better than any other options unless it's the NBA season the Nuggets are playing. But yeah, like it was kind of a mid episode, like nothing too crazy or too big, but
can't all be bangers.
Still a fun weekly show. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still good. It's okay.
I know we
kind of like us.
We're
We're a fun weekly show. We're okay.
I know we glossed over this match, but one thing I did want to point out that irrationally annoyed me, and this is guy that's been wrestling for 15 years yells at a cloud. Why were the Bollywood boys wearing the exact same colors as the Acclaimed?
I didn't get that either.
Like,
I
do you not
I didn't
own
know
another pair of gimmicks?
Yeah.
Like, can you? The Acclaimed wear the same shit every. Like, you know what they look like. Were you not getting dressed and thought maybe we should just look a little bit different? Like, they kind of looked like extra members of the Acclaimed, and it's a small pet peeve that annoyed the shit out of me.
Well, that has kind of been their MO ever since they've been in wrestling. They've always been the extras along with somebody. So maybe they just got confused about who they were extraing. All right, guys. That's all the time we got. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys giving us some of your time. We'll be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. We do have some things coming up here as well. So if you're not subscribed, do that. Hit the little bell icon. Let you know when we go live. Or when we post videos of other things, maybe, potentially, who knows, right? But yeah, definitely, like I said, it's free. Hit the subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to join in the conversation. Hit us up on Twitter at Total Spotfest. Follow Austin on Twitter for at Reddick Rules if you want to hear about the Denver Nuggets season coming up. I don't know. At other things. You do some wrestling stuff on there, but no, we thank you for your time. Like I said, we'll be back next week. Let's see where they go with this as we build up slowly to All In Out, and that's what I'm gonna refer to it from now on. All In Out.
That's what she said.
Oh, all right, Jamie, take us home, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, since I'm back, I got 5 words for you. Price is Right rules in effect.
That's 6 words.
Price is one word. Price is Right rules in effect.
Price is
right.
Rules.
I did apostrophe s.
Effect.
Price is right.
It's the price is right, not multiple prices.
Who's a train wreck now, Heather? Come on. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.